Before a phoenix rises, it must first burn. This is not poetry. It's architecture. Hidden behind the polished images of awakened beings, enlightened sages, and spiritual masters is not some secret formula or cosmic luck. It is something far more uncomfortable, more human, more invisible. They all had to give up. The world teaches us to accumulate. Success is a stack of knowledge, of goals, of identities. We're told to build, to climb, to strive endlessly. But here's the paradox they don't teach in schools, temples, or corporate meetings. Awakening does not happen at the top of the mountain. It begins when the mountain crumbles beneath you, and you stop scrambling to hold the pieces together. Let's be honest. Most people aren't ready to wake up. Not because they're incapable, but because they're still trying to hold on. To a version of themselves, to their beliefs, to the illusion of control. Giving up, in this light, isn't surrendering to defeat. It's the necessary act of stepping aside so that truth, unfiltered and unforced, can walk in. Every master you've heard of, Yeshua, Buddha, Lao Tzu, Rumi, even the mystics and prophets whose names are whispered through time, reached the threshold where they had to loosen their grip, and not just once, but again and again. They gave up their names, their comforts, their identities, their plans. Some gave up kingdoms, others gave up revenge. Some gave up even the desire to change the world. And what they found after the giving up wasn't emptiness. It was clarity, stillness, freedom. This message is not palatable to the modern ego. It's not glamorous. It doesn't fit in a step-by-step guide. But it's real. And it holds within it a sacred rebellion. The act of giving up as a portal, not a punishment. As a return, not a loss. Because what if the greatest block between you and awakening isn't your ignorance, but your insistence on holding on? Here's something to sit with. The seed does not argue with the soil. It gives itself to the dark. The shell cracks. The form dissolves. That is the process. That is initiation. And that is why every master had to give up first. Because only in that soft, terrifying collapse does the light get in. You may not be on a mountaintop, wearing robes, surrounded by chanting disciples. But you are already in your own initiation. If you're tired, uncertain, sensing something deeper beyond the noise, that's not a weakness. That's the beginning. That's the sacred unraveling. And you're not alone in it. There is a quiet power in giving up. Not the kind that makes headlines or wins applause, but the kind that shifts the very structure of your inner world. It's not about quitting. It's about releasing the false so the real can breathe again. Most people live like clenched fists, holding on. To relationships that echo with emptiness. To dreams they no longer believe in. To stories about who they think they are. But here's the truth no one tells you. Nothing real can be taken from you. And everything that breaks away was never truly yours to begin with. Giving up is not about losing the game. It's about realizing the game was rigged and walking away from the board. Every master discovered this, that what they were chasing, enlightenment, peace, power, God, was never found through more effort, more noise, more doing. It emerged when the seeking burned out, when the need to prove dissolved, when the mask dropped and the naked soul finally exhaled. In a world that worships struggle, giving up becomes a sacred rebellion. You stop striving to be spiritual and instead become quiet enough to hear your own spirit again. You stop trying to fix yourself like a broken machine and realize you were never broken, just buried under layers of belief and conditioning. The ego fears giving up because it thrives on attachments. But the soul remembers. It knows that every attachment is a rope tied to illusion, and every rope cut brings you closer to what you actually are. Let's make this real. Imagine someone who spent years building a successful career, climbing a mountain of ambition, status, approval. And then, one day, it all felt hollow. The meetings, the praise, the busy schedule, none of it touched the real hunger, so they walked away, not to escape, but to remember, to find silence, space, to ask the question they'd never dared to ask. Who am I without all this? Now, society might call that giving up, but in truth, that was the beginning of their wake. Giving up is not about retreating into the forest or abandoning all responsibility. It's about surrendering what is false, so you can finally carry what is true. You can still be in the world, but you are no longer of it. You're no longer playing a part to survive. You're living to be free. And that, quietly, shifts everything. Because when you stop trying to be what you're not, you start becoming who you've always been. Consider the story of the phoenix. Not just a bird, but a cosmic metaphor. It burns, not because it failed, but because the time had come. It gives up the form it had known, entirely, completely, into flame. Not a feather remains. And in that giving up, something holy is released. The ashes don't mourn. They carry memory. And from them, something reborn rises. Stronger, softer, truer. That's not mythology. That's you. That's anyone who has ever looked at their life and said, "This isn't it. There's something deeper." That's the person who walks out of the job that pays the bills but starves the soul. Who ends the relationship that was safe but suffocating. Who turns down the volume of the world so they can hear the whisper inside. Giving up is the cocoon. And inside you, the same process is waiting. The willingness to dissolve the old roles, the outdated ideas, the heavy masks you've worn for love, safety, or control. It's terrifying, yes. It feels like death. But it's the death of what was never really alive. And from that sacred undoing, something unimaginable begins to form. The mind wants certainty, but transformation lives in mystery. The soul grows not by adding more, but by letting go. And in every sacred story, in every wisdom tradition, the same message repeats. To ascend, you must descend. To awaken, you must surrender. To live, you must first be willing to die. To your identity, your attachments, your illusions. The masters weren't masters because they knew more. They became masters the moment they gave up everything they thought they had to be. Let's begin simple. Giving up doesn't mean giving in. It's not defeat. It's discernment. You're not throwing away your life. You're releasing what was never yours to carry in the first place. Most people are drowning in identities they were handed, not ones they chose. The good child, the strong one, the provider, the peacemaker, the achiever. They wear these masks so long they forget they're wearing them, but deep down something aches. The soul resists the script. That resistance shows up as anxiety, exhaustion, burnout. You think you're failing, but you're actually waking up. It's like someone walking through a desert with bags full of bricks. No water, just weight. The bricks are approval, control, status, performance, perfection. One by one, they must be dropped, not out of laziness, but out of wisdom. You begin to see, you were never meant to carry all this. In real life, surrender might look like finally saying no when your body says it's too much. It might look like quitting the job that pays well but costs your peace. It might look like stopping the constant self-improvement and sitting quietly in your own presence for once. It might look like choosing honesty over harmony, or silence over reaction. And yes, it can be messy. People might not understand. You might lose some things: money, status, familiar rhythms. But what you gain is worth more than all of it. Your inner space, your clarity, your connection to something greater than what you were trained to chase. Giving up isn't a moment. It's a rhythm. You'll feel it again and again, like the ocean pulling you out, asking, "Are you ready to release this too?" A thought pattern, a habit, a self-image. Each surrender is a door, and behind it, more light, more truth, more you. Don't think of it as doing less. Think of it as becoming more precise, sharper, truer. Your life becomes a mirror, not a mask. You stop pretending. You begin living. And the world responds differently to people who live from truth rather than tension. Giving up isn't about quitting. It's about letting go of what no longer serves you. Real transformation happens when we stop clinging to old stories, fears, or pressures. Take a single mother juggling work and family. She's been holding everything together, pushing herself to the brink, thinking she has to do it all. One day, she admits to herself that she can't keep going at this pace. She asks for help. Maybe she lets go of some of the perfectionism or guilt around not being able to do it all. That decision doesn't make her weak. It makes her human. And in that moment of surrender, she finds a deeper strength, a new way to live with more balance. Or think of someone in a high-stress job, climbing the corporate ladder, always feeling like they need to prove themselves. After years of burnout, they decide to leave. They give up the constant race for more status and money and focus on something more meaningful, like starting a business they're passionate about, or simply having more time with family. The fear of failure lingers, but the freedom they find is worth it. Letting go of the need to constantly perform or prove yourself is often the first step toward freedom. It's in this surrender that life shifts and new possibilities emerge, just when you least expect it.